Marvel Matters! Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the Marvel Matters podcast, featuring the Spectacular Steve,
Flame on,
the Benevolent Ben,
Ben Smash,
the Jubilant Jake,
I am Jake.
and I am your host, the Tremendous Tom. So, unfortunately Nate couldn't be with us again this week, but Jake is with us again. So, this week's show is going to be about the aftermath of Civil War. So, let's start off with the icebreaker that we've taken from Twitter. And this week it was from Krista Vaughan, who is at kvaughan737. And she asks, if you had to room with any Marvel character, who would you pick to be that roommate?
Ooh.
Why always with the ooh?
Because you're not sorted out a soundboard yet.
Okay, sorry. So I'm going to jump in and answer first because screw you guys. My answer is Ant-Man, just because I think it'd be hilarious. Scott Lang as a roommate, just, pulling out one-liners.
That's a good shout, that is.
He'd be decent to go out for a
That
drink
was
with
one of
and
my
stuff,
top
wouldn't
3.
Probably get you in a lot of trouble as well.
he? Yeah, probably, yeah, good point. But still, at least you can have a laugh. Anyone else?
I'm going to jump in there.
Go for it.
After Civil War, I'm definitely saying Spider-Man.
Nice.
You'd have some fun with Spider-Man.
Young Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So you want a room with a young boy.
And have some fun.
Correct.
Family podcast, guys, come on.
Family podcast.
I just think that because of how hyper and stuff he is, he'd probably get annoying after a while.
Yeah, but if I was rooming with him,
You
we'd
just
just
laugh
be
at him
having
all the time.
we'd just be having a laugh and partying,
true.
wouldn't we?
Plus, he could swing you around New York or whatever.
I think it'd be like working with Jake. You just take the mick out of him all the time.
It looks like a little tear fell down his cheek then for the
I'm
audience.
taking from the question as well that I'm not settling down with this guy and spending the rest of my life with him. I'm just rooming with him temporarily.
What's wrong with that? Who's next?
Jake, go on.
I'll go next. Iron Man, 100%.
Is that just because of your absolute love for everything Iron Man ever?
Not only that, I'm a big gadget man, and he just seems like the kind of man who would have a lot of gadgets.
You just want to play with his toys, don't you?
Yeah.
And you're always skint, so it's like, Tony, lend us a tenner.
Yeah. There you go.
Easy.
Big shout. Do you reckon he'd pay all the bills as well?
He'd
Yeah,
definitely would, wouldn't
100%.
He'd have to.
He'd have to, or else I wouldn't be rooming with him.
Good shout.
All right, and Steve, what about you?
Well, mine would be, as you know, I've got a massive taste in music. I love my songs.
A massive taste
Got
in
a
music.
massive taste in music. Makes no sense at all. As by the looks of Krista Vaughan's picture on Twitter, I believe that she might be a music fan too.
For the audience at home, she has a bird that's got a treble clef in the middle of it.
Oh, this one I have tattooed on my arm.
Oh, yeah, so it is. It's exactly the same pattern. No way.
Hey.
I never realised that.
See?
Well, Krista, that's awesome.
I've done my homework. But yeah, I think I would go with Star-Lord.
Okay, cool.
2 reasons. A, you get to listen to some unbelievable music all the time, some
Yep.
classic power
I
ballads.
can second that.
It'd just be like a drive to work in the morning,
Yep.
crunking out some power ballads.
Crunking out them power ballads.
And obviously he's a bit of
spaceship.
character. In Tom's Toyota Yaris.
There's nothing wrong with my Yaris, all right?
And obviously he's got a cracking personality, a bit like some of the other guys, a bit of a joker. And
I thought you meant me then.
You'd have
That's
a
nice
good
thing
laugh
you've
with
ever
them.
said.
And again, if you were just bored, like on a Friday night or something, and you're like, yeah, Star-Lord, let's get the Milano out and go to space.
And you can sing Baba Miliano.
But yeah, so yeah, Star-Lord.
Nice.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Krista, for your question. That was an awesome question. And thank you, everybody else, for your questions as well, because we had quite a few this week.
Yeah, what we've done is because we've had quite a few good ones this week, so we've started to add them to a sort of a database so that we've got a few going forward that we like.
A database, make it sound like it's really serious.
No, what we did is we got the lad in the office to add it to our database for us.
Oh, yeah, the receptionist that we've got.
The intern.
At the Marvel Matters office headquarters. So, let's move on then to the Marvel Mystery.
Marvel Mystery!
Steve, this week it was your turn. What have you brought us?
Okay, so I was struggling because I've got loads and loads of Marvel stuff, but it's all very mundane in terms of for this section.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to my bag and don't get excited because
It's all Lego, basically.
I've brought a selection of things.
Did you bring the helicarrier?
Wouldn't fit in the car.
For the sake of the audience, Steve is now unzipping his bag.
So I've bought a selection of my little boy's things that are all Marvel related.
Okay, I like it. That's cool.
We've got a Spider-Man ball,
Nice.
Yeah.
It's very squidgy.
Spider-Man snapback.
Yeah.
A snapback is a cap because I wouldn't know what a snapback was if you
Steve
didn't
claiming
have it
that
in my
it's
hand.
his son's.
I don't know why we're passing him around.
Will this fit on my head?
This is following on from yesterday. Last week's show is a Hot Wheels collectible Captain America toy. which we mentioned a couple of weeks ago
Yeah, we
on
did.
the show that they were releasing a range from Hot Wheels.
They also released some of their own specific comic book
Have you
covers
got a
for some of the
matching
comics.
Spider-Man hat, Steve?
No, I don't, I'm afraid.
Oh.
I have a Spider-Man t-shirt, that's about it.
Okay, so
Right,
that's...
This Hot Wheels is pretty sick, isn't it, to be fair?
Yeah, the Hot Wheels was the one I was bringing in, just because it was relevant to what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago and last week.
Is that Moon Knight on the back of there? Is there a Moon Knight one under your hand?
That's another collection. For
Oh,
Steve
right,
to
no,
build
sorry.
on.
It's a Quinjet.
No, there's Iron Man, but not Moon Knight.
Captain America and Iron Man, nice. So why is it still in the packaging? Why has it not been played with yet?
Because he's too young for it.
Oh, okay, fair
But
play.
it says
Ages
it says
3 and up.
3+ look. But yeah, the reason I brought these things in really was just because, just to touch on, like you always sort of say, would you do anything like this, or would you collect that, or would you buy this?
Yep.
So I was going to bring in sort of like, again, it could have been Lego or Pops or comics, which we've all already got unseen.
Yep.
So yeah, no, just to say really, like obviously if you guys ever had children and going forward, would you make them indulge in Marvel things? So that's a question from me, Steve, to
I
you
like
boys.
it. That's a good question.
See what I've done there? I've taken
Yeah.
over the podcast.
Steve's hosting.
Viewers have gone up.
I would definitely make Marvel a part of my child life.
I would call my child Marvel.
Right, yeah.
Marvel.
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 I don't want kids, so
I, as a kid, definitely had Wolverine. I think I probably had Spider-Man. Like action figures.
I had all the Spider-Man games on like PlayStation and stuff.
Yeah.
See, I with my earliest memory of Marvel, I can't even think of what it
90s
was.
X-Men.
Yeah, it probably was 90s X-Men or a very old like Game Boy game or something like Spider-Man.
I was a Thomas the Tank kid.
All right.
I was
Yeah.
Star Wars all the way.
What, even when you were like 13?
For the sake of the audience, that was half a year ago.
That's why Ben wants to move in with him.
Spider-Man or Jake?
Both. Anyway, let's move on. So the main theme of this show is Civil War Aftermath. We've obviously had a show already on following Civil War, but what we thought we'd do is, because we still had loads of stuff to talk about after that episode, so we thought we'd kind of pick up some of the topics we left on that agenda and move it on to this episode. So, first of all, I thought we'd have a proper look at the death sweep that we had, because we kind of touched on it last time, but we didn't actually go through what everyone put, and because we weren't very organised before the show.
Does Jake have to inherit Nath's answers for this?
Yeah, sorry, Jake, you're Nath for this.
It's fine. It's nothing I would have picked, but I'll go with it.
All right, well, that's the first question then. Who would you have picked before?
No.
That's not- I
More
can't
importantly, who did you pick? Who were you adamant about was going to die?
Hands down, I thought Captain America was going to die. Nobody else, and I still think he should have. But
Yeah.
that's
You're hurt
my
by that, I
opinion.
can see.
Technically,
It
though,
annoyed me. Yeah, I think they could have done a lot more with flashbacks and stuff in the next film if he had died. And
did Captain America die in the last one because he left the shield with Tony Stark? Do you think that's the end of Captain America, and Steve Rogers is just going to go and become a director of Shield or something?
Go to Barbados for a thing.
He's going to get a desk
10
job.
years.
Yeah, maybe he might just go and work behind the counter at Woolworths or something.
Or become a driver for FedEx.
Maybe. Yeah. So, any opinions on that, or are you just not going to answer the question anyway?
I believe that he'll be back and stronger and better than ever.
But do you think he'll be back as Captain America or just Steve Rogers?
Captain America.
Yeah.
I think
He's
he'll
going to knock
come
on the
back as
door and
Captain
say, "Can I have my
America."
shield back?"
But I know I keep on going back to Captain America's going to die, but I really do think he's going to die in the next one.
Well, he obviously dies around this stage in the comics. He died in the comics not long after the release of Civil War, so like that's why everyone expected him, or at least suspected him, to die in Civil War. So do we think Steve Rogers will die in the next, like maybe in Infinity Wars or something?
I think contractually, I don't necessarily think they may kill him off, but I think they'll almost try and adopt the storyline that Bucky becomes Captain America.
Yeah.
I just think that from all the talk about film deals and 1 year left and 5 films left and 10 years, all that sort of thing that goes on, I just think that Sebastian Stan has openly admitted that he's got like 9 films or whatever.
Yeah.
And we all know that Chris Evans, has got 1 film left. So for me, I think that's what they'll do. But I wouldn't.
I thought this was his last film.
I think he's got 1 more, or he
Okay.
said he'll do 1 more. Mate, I don't know.
Right.
But I just don't think they'd put their most valuable asset, or one of their most valuable assets. I don't think they'd kill him off forever.
No, the thing with the comics is they can kill a character off, and because it's comics, they can bring him back in a most obscure way, and you'll believe it because it's the comics. Like, you know what I mean? Like, somebody could just turn up
Just
and be
do
like,
a Jon Snow.
yeah, exactly. It's a Game of Thrones reference for anyone who doesn't know. And I don't think they can get away with that as much on the movie screen in the MCU. I don't think they can get away as much of having obscure storylines of bringing somebody back to life as they would in the comics.
Yeah, it's different when you're watching something, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's probably why they're more cautious about actually killing somebody off, because they can't just turn around at the end of it in Phase 4 and be like, we need him back now, actually. Sorry, team.
Yeah, but do we think that Iron Man and Captain America, they've had quite a lot of films now, haven't they?
Yeah.
So are they coming to the end of that? And like I say, it wouldn't surprise me if they did kill him off.
No, I think they probably should, just to get like one of the most like emotional reactions out of the death of Captain America. Like, it would be a very emotional sort of event to happen, and it would be a very memorable event. So why not do it? Why not just take the plunge?
They won't do it. There's no way they'll do it, just because they've got too much to lose. They'll leave the door open. He may walk away, or they might somehow take him out of the film. I think they'll definitely do that, and I don't think we'll see him for a while. But again, I think they'll do the same with Robert Downey Jr. as well soon.
Yeah,
I think they'll just both come away from it.
You just think they'll take a step back, sort of thing. Yeah, that's fair enough.
On the shelf.
Put him on the shelf with Hawkeye.
Anyway, we were going to have a look at the death sweep, and we kind of got sidetracked. So I picked Thaddeus Ross, and I said nobody else would die.
Unlucky.
So technically I was right that only one person died, but
technically you were also wrong.
I didn't choose the right one, so it's kind of irrelevant.
I was convinced that I'd pick Crossbones, and then I look back and I haven't. So I was pretty upset about that.
So you were wrong?
Yeah, so Ben picked Bucky, Falcon, Zemo and Ross.
Which I didn't know about his deal for the first one, for Bucky. And then I must admit, I thought Falcon wasn't going to play the big part he did, and I think he shocked us.
Falcon was amazing.
So if I'd have known...
Yeah, looking at that now it seems strange, but looking at it then it didn't.
No.
So I think...
he was always kind of a background character, wasn't he, really? But I really thought he came to the front and he was good in Civil War.
I expected Thaddeus Ross to be more of a bad guy as well, like to have more screen time, to be the main sort of antagonist in the whole film. And that's why I put him down to die, because I just thought he was going to be the main bad guy in it all. But
he was, like we said though, didn't we, when we discussed the show beforehand, we said, like, would he be one of these characters that wasn't good or bad?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He had an opinion which was based on things that had happened which aren't necessarily wrong or right, so yeah.
It's kind of weird when you think about it. For a war, there's only one death out of the whole thing, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was.
And the way we were talking about it and stuff, I was expecting a few more than that.
I thought there would have been an emotional death of somebody that meant something to us.
Yeah, I did, but...
An Avenger, basically.
It got pretty close.
At the same time, though, I suppose it did with War Machine. At the same time, I don't... No, go on.
No, not even War Machine, just the fight at the end between Iron Man and Captain America and Bucky.
Yeah, that was
pretty close to someone dying there.
Yeah. I mean, it crossed my mind when I was watching it. I was thinking, when they're double teaming it as well, I'm just thinking, someone's just going to break his head off with that shield or something. Yeah. And we're all going to burst into tears. And I was like, no, don't do it.
Just with how driven Tony Stark was in that scene as well, he was going to kill Bucky on it.
No whole bars.
He just was going to... I was kind of half expecting him to kill Steve Rogers by mistake or something, like he would have jumped in the way of one of his...
Any one of them could have died in that fight.
It was insane. Crazy, wasn't it? Do we think then Thaddeus Ross will become the Red Hulk?
No, not immediately.
No?
I just think, again, they'll leave the door open in case they ever make a Planet Hulk movie.
Yeah, Jake,
which they won't.
If you don't know, do you know about Thaddeus Ross?
I did not know.
Thaddeus Ross in the comics becomes the Red Hulk.
All right.
Which is just a more insane version of the Hulk, basically.
And he's red.
Yeah, I've seen the old Hulk film.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Red Hulk though, is it? So.
No, I can't. No, it was Abomination in that.
Yeah, Big Hulk.
Yeah. So I don't know about, because obviously he didn't have much screen time on the whole. So I think he'll probably be a character we'll see more of as we go forward. But like you said, I'm not sure I can see him becoming the Red Hulk just randomly. But you don't know what Phase 4 holds, I suppose, do you? At the end of the day,
watch this space.
So Nath said Hawkeye, Falcon and Crossbones. So Nath did actually get Crossbones.
Yeah.
Well done, Nath.
Well done, Nath. But
see you soon.
Hawkeye died a little bit, didn't he? Because he didn't really do much.
Yeah, and he pretty much...
You could say he came back from the dead.
So with this death sweep, is like Ben saying he thought Bucky, Falcon, Zemo and Ross was...
Yeah, what an idiot.
Oh, right, wow.
It's Civil War, isn't it? It sounds like there would be a lot of casualties, I suppose. And Steve said Hawkeye, Crossbones and Zemo. Nearly right about Zemo. He nearly died.
He should have died,
He tried to shoot himself in the head, but...
Yeah.
Black Panther was like, nah, mate.
Yeah, I'm having half a point for that as well.
No, you don't get it, but Steve does.
So do I win? 1.5 points.
Yeah, you do actually.
Yeah, Steve wins with 1.5 points.
And Hawkeye might as well not bothered. So I basically won, haven't I?
All right, mate.
Do I get a medal or anything?
You get to take up
Certificate.
this time that's just been wasted with you saying that.
Thanks.
Congratulations. So also we didn't actually talk about the post-credit sequence or sequences because there was two. So the first one, which was probably, well, I think did
Sorry, wait there. Just ask Jake if he stayed for the last one.
He thinks he did now. No.
I did.
Oh, did you?
I didn't realise it was. I didn't realise the Spider-Man one was one of the post-sequence ones because it was pretty much immediately after the film. That was. No
You thought it was
credits or
more of an
anything.
advert.
I thought it was just a carry-on of the film. Like,
No, the
just
Spider-Man
part
was
of
at the
film.
very end.
I thought the Wakanda one was at the very end.
No, the Wakanda one was the first one.
I thought Wakanda was first and the
Wakanda
Spider-Man
was
one was
first.
second.
Spider-Man was very, very last thing. Unless they did it randomly differently.
I
in different
definitely
cinemas.
saw them both anyway. Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway,
Yeah.
let's just talk. Let's talk about the Spider-Man one because not really much happened in that, did it? It was literally just him sort of going home, saying,
It was just an advert, wasn't it? For
Yeah,
the next
it was
film?
just-
It was just an advert for the next film, just to let everybody know we're doing another film.
"Yeah, and
Come and watch it.
He was just like, "Yeah, I've met somebody from Brooklyn. That's about it."
Yeah, I like that. That was funny.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I'm really looking forward to that film though now.
Yeah, I can't wait. You messaged me
Like-
today at work just saying that I can't wait for Spider-Man.
Like, I've fell in love with Spider-Man again. Done a Tom. I'm in love with him.
You're in love with him, and you want to live with him.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
See what's
This
happened
guy-
here.
See what's going on.
We need an intervention
And-
here.
Let's ask Jake what he thinks of Spider-Man, because obviously I know for a fact Jake was massively anti-Spider-Man before the movie.
He's got a lot to live up to for me. He's still got a lot to live up to for me if he wants.
But
My support.
But he was. But is he on the
He
way
wants to live with
Is
me.
he on the way to winning that support?
Again, I didn't like him in Civil War.
What?
I don't think
What's
he needed
wrong
to
with
be
you?
there.
Like him in Civil
I
War.
can see them all looking at me
Get
now,
out.
hating me.
Jake,
But no, I didn't see the need
let's
for
not
him.
invite him again, everyone.
But again, I think that's because of
bring
all the
back Nate.
films. I think that's because of all the other Spider-Man
Are
films.
you
Yeah,
scarred?
I've watched them all multiple times. You know, they're always on TV, on repeat, and
They're on
Well,
TV on repeat. That's crazy.
no, like on all the time. Not just
what you mean, mate.
we might as well do a
Spider-Man
specific
Josh, you
channel
with you.
for it.
I'm hoping then, because obviously Tony Stark's in this next one. I'm hoping.
See, I just think they're bringing
This-
Tony Stark into the Spider-Man film to try and bring Spider-Man up a bit.
No, it's for you. They've done it for you.
I think
Just for
Yeah.
you, yeah.
they're
yeah.
trying to win you over.
Trying to win you over with it.
But something that's crossed my mind is, I wonder whether we'll see the introduction of Iron Spider-Man.
It's a good shout.
Yes,
Iron
Ben spoke to me
Spider-Man.
about this
And
today.
Diet Morales. One thing about the Spider-Man movies that I'm looking forward to, which again I hope they get right this time, is again Spider-Man out of everyone has probably got the biggest catalogue of villains
Yeah,
to choose from,
yeah, I suppose.
and obviously we've seen a lot of them already. So I'm hoping that they get that a little bit better maybe than what they've done in the past, because I think Marvel sometimes, again, not necessarily Marvel, but comic book villains in general are quite often throwaway characters.
Yeah,
I just want to see a bit of sustenance, I want them to build up a villain.
yeah, that would be good. Which I suppose
Venom.
they've been doing with Thanos over the past however many films.
Yeah.
With the odd few little bits we've seen of him. We've seen obviously of his children in Guardians and stuff like that. Even just that one little what was the film that had the post credit sequence of just his face? Was that the end of Guardians? Where he was sitting in that big throne, wasn't he? And then he zoomed in on his face and he just had a big smirk on his face.
Yeah, I think it was Guardians.
Was it? It might be the end of Thor.
Oh, no, it wasn't Guardians. Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck?
Howard the Duck was the post-credit scene on Guardians.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we've had this conversation on the show before, actually.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
I'm not sure.
Thor 2.
Okay, anyway, let's move on. So, the next post-credit scene was obviously the very, very good and very interesting, in my opinion, was the Winter Soldier being taken to Wakanda, and then you saw the big panther, the big Black Panther carved in stone or something like that, or was it just a big statue? And
Big statue
Whatever
thing,
it was
wasn't
awesome.
so this was like the first insight into what Wakanda's going to be like in the MCU. What did you guys take
Look,
from this?
it looked a bit like jungly, didn't it?
It did in that, because obviously that's kind of like the mystical place and stuff, and because Wakanda's supposed to be one of the most high-tech cities on the planet,
Yeah.
and obviously you didn't see anything of a city, but you saw the Black Panther statue, and I guess that's where like the Panther trials are held, and
Yeah.
it did look like it was dead jungly, like you say, mystical.
Like you say, it's weird, innit? What they've shown us wasn't like a high-tech city, like you're saying.
Yeah.
It was more like you saw a bit of, obviously, the base, which just looked pretty standard,
Yeah.
sort of shield-esque base sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you got like a bit of the jungle, and then just bang with that statue, didn't you? It was just like gave you a bit of a buzz, like, what's this going to be like?
Can't wait for that now.
I just kind of hope that, I don't know if you guys will agree, but I hope like Captain America or the Winter Soldier aren't really in it. I want it to be Black Panther's film and not really any of them in there trying to potentially take the limelight off him.
Yeah.
Because I want to know more about him solely for him and not of who he's with.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I
What do you think?
think that the Winter Soldier will have a part to play in it, but not necessarily like an active part to play. I think that in my head at the moment, my theory of what the storylines is going to be is going to have a heavy involvement of Zemo trying to get his hands on the Winter Soldier, who's technically like frozen, isn't he? At the end of Civil War, he went into like freezing or whatever. And I think that it's basically going to be Black Panther trying to stop Zemo get his hands on the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So even though he's not technically going to be in it, it's going to be centered around him a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't. That's not giving Black Panther his own story, then, is it?
Yeah, they can still do that though, can't they?
Do you think?
Yeah, because they've got to have him in it. There's no way they could just go through the whole film and not talk about Bucky at all, because they've obviously set it up for that. But you can still cover the Black Panther, the origin, Wakanda, and everything. Because there's always 2 or 3 running storylines anyway, isn't there? It's not just one story in the film. There's always 2 and 3, 4, sometimes more storylines running. So they'll just do the same thing. There'll be the Zemo part of the film, very much like Civil War.
Yeah.
Because there was a Zemo storyline, there was the Civil War storyline, and there was sort of loads of stuff going on.
So loads of little strands, weren't there?
So I just think they'll do the similar sort of thing. And like you say, I really hope they get the origin side of it in there in bulk, because so far they've been absolutely spot on with him, and I want them to carry on doing that.
I think there'll be a big backlash of T'Chaka dying.
Yeah, but like going back to what you said before, though, I expected when they looked out that window, I thought we were going to see like the city.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously, they were in the other. I don't know whether they're in a different part of Wakanda, whether the country's so big and vast, and they're in a different part. Is there a jungle part? Is there a city part? Is it just that it's like over the wilderness over one side and they're at the very edge of a city? Or I'm so looking forward to seeing more. Yeah, basically, because it will just look. It's a magical place, isn't it?
How's that feel?
I'd like to go there on holiday.
So, Steve, do we know when the Black Panther film is coming out?
Yeah, it's the first one, I think, in 2018. I think it's approximately February the 16th.
I might have just looked that up maybe a little bit.
Off the top of my head.
Thanks.
But yeah, effectively, there's 3 films before that? Because there's, Doctor Strange this year, isn't there?
Yep.
And then we've got 3 films next year. Yeah,
what
basically.
Are the 3 films next year, sorry?
Ragnarok. I just thought these are in no order. Ragnarok. Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
And your mate, Spider-Man.
What about Captain Marvel? Is she after?
She's after Infinity Wars 1. She's in between.
Ah.
Yeah, you got to
wait.
wait.
Ages away, that is.
Stop beefing with you, man.
No. So, at the end of Civil War, obviously the Avengers team was left quite fractured. I assume that in the Infinity Wars is going to be sort of the next Avengers film. What do we think is going to bring the team back together? Do we think they're even going to get back together, or do you think there's going to be many branching storylines where they're not going to get back together?
Starbucks.
Yep.
They all meet in Starbucks.
If they all room with us, we could convene together.
We could just have like
a
house party.
We could have a house party.
Yeah.
And get them all together and be like, look, lads, we've got Infinity Wars going on. Will you help us?
It's a costume party, so everyone come in a costume.
We could probably make that happen.
Yeah.
And
we
then,
could come as our own characters and join them.
Because they'd have masks on, they wouldn't see each other immediately, so they wouldn't just go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, we thought this through.
I'm pretty sure Thor wouldn't come to a fancy dress as Spider-Man. They'd come in their costumes.
He'll come as everyone else.
So
Hulk just dressed up as Black Widow.
What's just happened then? Have we just saved the world?
I think we did.
Yeah. Well done, Jake. Well done, Jake.
Thank you.
Jake just saved the world, everyone.
Nath, what an episode to miss.
It's a good job Nath wasn't here, otherwise the world might have ended. Well, anyway, so do we think they actually will get back together first? I think they will.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got him, haven't they?
And going back to what we were talking about before about...
Can I confess something?
Yeah.
Sorry, totally off topic. I nearly started singing Taylor Swift then, but carry on.
What? Okay, you going to explain that?
No, just carry on.
Okay. Fair enough. So, yeah, going back to what we were talking about before about whether Captain America will become Captain America, do you think this will be the time when sort of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers are able to team up again to save the world because we're in such peril or something? Do you think... What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much... To be fair, Tony's reaction at the end of Civil War when he got the package for Stank.
Yeah.
Mr. Stank.
Mr. Stank.
I think when you could tell by his face, like his facial expressions and things, that I don't know, that he sort of smiled, and he wasn't like. It wasn't like, oh, throw that away, I don't want anything to do with him. He almost accepting the invitation of, like, call me, maybe. Do you know what I mean?
What song's that? You're going to quote that
See what I did there?
You're going to start singing now.
I'm not singing all episode this week. So, yeah, that's my thought. I'm not sure whether that will be the movie when they hand Bucky the shield, as it were, and he starts taking over, and maybe Steve Rogers isn't it at the start.
Yeah.
Let's all be friends, blah. I can't sign the Sokovia Awards. Bucky, there's my shield. See you, bye. Sort of thing. In a nutshell, I've just basically ruined the film for everyone, but that's my theory.
Are the Sokovia Awards like the Oscars or not?
Yeah, basically. Everyone has to thank their family and friends for being there.
I'm sorry, I had to pick up on that one. Yeah, obviously there was that sort of heartfelt letter off Captain America as well, wasn't there? Where he apologised for not telling Tony sooner, and that he basically couldn't, like, he admitted that he couldn't make himself do it. So yeah, I think that's probably when they will like start to smooth it all over.
Something's going to go off. It'll show something going off, and then like they'll need a reaction, and someone will have to, maybe Tony, have to get on the dog and bone. Have a ring round.
It might just be, again, it might be that Tony and Steve Rogers bring everyone together
in a house party,
and they're sort of not involved as much themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
There's this massive thing going around, isn't there, about, is it one of the Russo brothers or someone has said that they've potentially got 67 characters available for the movie?
I think it was Gary Woodside.
I don't think it was Gary Woodside. Let's be mature about this, yeah?
Sorry.
So yeah, no. So again, they can't fit everybody in, are they?
No, that's true. That's
so maybe they are taking a back seat, and they'll almost sort of get rid of all the problems at the start, bring everyone back, fight on the same team, and then sort of drive off into the sunset.
Maybe this is where, like,
together, holding hands.
Maybe this is where they're starting to say, like, Phase 4 is going to be a very different sort of set of Avengers. Maybe this is going to be the start of it. Then it's going to be Infinity Wars. We're going to see different people taking different leads, like Captain Marvel could probably lead them all, I reckon.
She won't be there for the first one. Oh, she might be. She might not just have had her solo movie yet.
You reckon she might be drafted in?
I think she'll turn up in a film at least.
I reckon she'll turn up in Guardians too, because in the comics she has a lot to do with Guardians.
Yeah, I thought that too, but Guardians started filming a few months back.
Yeah, and they've
still not announced or cast Captain Marvel. So timeline-wise, I don't know how to work.
Oh, £100, I'm not actually betting, by the way, I'm just showing how enthusiastic I am about this bet, says that one of the ending sequences of Guardians is definitely going to be about Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it's a good shout. It's bold. It's out there.
100 fake pounds.
100 Wakandan.
Make it 1,000.
1,000 fake pounds. I wouldn't go that far. That's too much.
Monopoly.
Avengers Monopoly money.
Jake just made a funny.
Well done, Jake. So, speaking of the Sokovia Awards, do we think that these are going to have a big impact on the storylines that are to come? I know it's been this episode will have actually aired in America, but it hasn't in the UK yet. One of the S.H.I.E.L.D. episodes has something to do with Civil War. I assume that's going to be some backlash of the Sokovia.
No spoilers here.
Records.
I don't watch S.H.I.E.L.D. Sorry, guys.
Neither do I, mate.
Yeah,
we haven't seen it anyway, because it's not on here. So
it's not on in the UK yet. Yeah. Well, it's on, but we're a bit behind.
So do we think that the Sokovia Accords are going to have a big impact on the Marvel Universe that is to come? Do we think they're going to have an impact on maybe some of the TV series like Daredevil, something like that? What do you guys think?
I hope not. I hope they don't really dwell on it. I think it worked for Civil War and then just get past it and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it's not going to be involved. Not really going to be mentioned.
The only place I'd like to see it happen is in The Punisher, because he'd just end up killing everyone. And then the Sokovia Accords would be no more.
Sounds like Jake with his powers, just killing everyone for power.
Doctor Strange is coming up. Do we think that Doctor Strange is going to have a big part in Infinity Wars? Because obviously in the comics, Doctor Strange is a very, very powerful being.
Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, he's one of the most powerful beings in the unicorn.
In the unicorn.
In a unicorn.
In a uniform.
It's Marvel, anything could happen.
The universe.
Dressed as a fireman.
I can't remember what I was saying now.
He's the most powerful person in the unicorn.
Yep, in that unicorn, he is the most powerful person.
So he rides the unicorn?
Do they do him in Pop Ride? Riding the...
Tom, will you take this a bit more serious?
Sorry, I just missaid something. Right, yeah, so Doctor Strange.
Do you reckon he'd turn up at the Zuko? I can't.
There's a Cobra Awards on the unicorn.
Riding unicorn is where I was going, but I couldn't.
Everyone stop listening now.
I was going to cut this out, but I think I'm going to leave this in. So he's one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe.
In the world.
Yep.
Just behind Santa Claus, probably. Do you think that, considering how powerful he is, do you think, first of all, do you think he will be this powerful in the cinematic universe? And secondly, if he is, do you think that he's going to have a massive part to play in Infinity Wars against Thanos or anything? Or what do you guys think?
I think that it's going to depend on how well Strange takes off on his own.
Yeah? On the unicorn?
I think it's undecided.
I just think like this scale of power that he has might be hard to translate again into a cinematic universe, because if he's just all powerful and everything,
how would you put him up against somebody else, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how would you balance him against somebody else?
And then if say, obviously, like, say Thor is one of the most powerful beings in the Avengers universe at the moment, if then Doctor Strange is so much more powerful than him, how's he going to fit in with everyone else during Infinity Wars? Like, because he could just turn up and be like, yeah, I'm just going to send Thanos home with my mind.
They're going to have that problem, though, aren't they? They're going to have that problem with everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, because like Black Panther again is like streets ahead of most of them at most things. In the comic
he is,
book
but not on
wise.
the level of where he could like make a planet disappear or something, or travel to a different universe.
Yeah, but all them guys are signed to Fox, so we don't have to worry about them a lot.
True, very true.
But no, I don't know. I think he'll be quite a big character.
Yeah.
I think he'll, just because of the space element and the whole sort of magical, mystical, multiverse-y type thing going on, I just think it's perfect. It's a perfect fit, almost like a link between Earth and space and the Guardians and Captain Marvel.
I wonder if he can just travel to Asgard and things like that. I wonder if he can just be like, I'm just going to go knock on Thor's door, see if he's coming out. Hang on.
Yeah, I wonder how much it is for a taxi to Asgard.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need a taxi.
How much on a unicorn?
He doesn't need a taxi.
Maybe that's why he's got the unicorn.
To be fair, though, if he can travel from between the multiverse, maybe he will find a unicorn somewhere. You don't know.
Maybe.
You don't know about his unicorn.
Maybe not.
I'd love to find a storyline where he does actually have a unicorn. So, speaking of the Black Panther, then, do you think? Well, personally, I think he will. But do you think he will have a massive role in Infinity Wars? Do you think he's going to be one of the main Avengers? Because obviously, he again sits sort of separately from the Avengers team. Yeah. Because he obviously is based in Wakanda, which is a whole different country than New York or even America, considering New York's not a country. So, do you guys think again that he will have a massive part in like the Avengers team in Infinity War?
I hope he does.
I think he will.
Why do you hope he does?
Because he's just amazing.
Did he win you over? Are you a big fan already?
So he won you over, but
Super
Spider-Man
excited.
didn't.
No.
So Nate's replacement is a massive Black Panther fan.
You don't have to say that just because you're filling in for Nate, you know.
Why, is Nath
Nath would be proud. Nath would be proud.
Obsessed with Black Panther,
I think he's awesome. I'm really excited to see his films.
Nath, are you in there?
Nate, take your wig off.
I think he will. I think he'll want to stop anyone coming in, potentially, taking over the world and coming to Wakanda and upsetting the apple cart. So I think he's going to get right in the mix. He's going to be at the front line.
He's going to protect his apples. I like it.
The thing is, Black Panther again, he's one of them, and he's a natural leader and everything else. He's a brilliant warrior, fighter. Mm-hmm. So they could go one of 3 or 4 different ways with it. Like they could bring him in as someone to help them sort of build up their power and add an extra fighter into the team, if you like, or they could bring him in as a leader sort of character feature to make people sort of guide them in the way. And there's loads of different things you could do with him. They could make him sort of like they could use the technology and some of the vibranium and things like that to sort of tip it in their favour in the fight against Thanos. So it just depends, but they can basically do what they want with it. But I think whatever they do will be the right choice.
It probably boils down a lot to how his solo film pans out as well, I would have thought. But at the same time,
don't forget they've got to start writing this thing soon.
That's true.
If it's coming out in 2019, they've got to film it, so they've got to write it because they've not started the script for it yet.
Yeah, see, I think that the Black Panther film will be a lot about a personal journey of T'Challa, because we saw in Civil War the point where like there was that massive personal revolution of him when he was chasing his father's killer all the way through with the intention of killing them, and at the end he changed his mind. He was like, no, I'm not actually going to kill you. I'm just going to sort of arrest you.
Vengeance consuming him or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to let it consume me.
And that, I think that was the start of us actually seeing him turn into a king, like more of a diplomatic side coming through rather than just using his claws to scratch Captain America's shield sort of thing. So I think that he'll probably come into it more as sort of, not as in like a proper member of the Avengers, but more like a sort of consultant or something, like
consultant. Like we're going to get him in on a 6-month contract.
They're going to get him on a contract, sign him up.
Can I just give some advice on this, please, Black Panther?
Exactly, yeah. We're like, we need a consultant on this, so I know a guy. But one character I do hope has a big part to play in this
is the Wasp.
Is no, it's Captain Marvel.
Ah, okay.
Funnily enough.
Someone else just give me a shout when he shuts up talking about Captain Marvel.
Yeah, but Captain Marvel is... Please, let me talk about Captain Marvel.
Go on, man.
She's like the complete opposite to T'Challa in that sense of where she's not a diplomat. Her whole story is about her struggling with that side of things because she's like a liaison with the rest of the planets in the...
Is she a consultant for the planets?
She is a consultant, yeah. No, she's a liaison, actually. That's her official job title.
T'Challa and Danvers Limited.
But she's more of like... Because she's an ex-Air Force pilot, she is just all about attack sort of thing rather than thinking about it. She's so fiery and she'll try and solve any situation with like fighting rather than diplomacy. And the whole story arc that I've been reading of her recently is her trying to sort of do the opposite. So I think that's really cool. I think that she'll probably have a big part to play in Infinity Wars. That'd be nice. Please, Marvel. Thank you. So, Ben, you touched on the Wasp there.
Ben touched the Wasp?
Yes.
Ouch.
Again, for me, the Wasp is... Obviously, they've got a film coming up, haven't they? Ant-Man and the Wasp. Do you think, I can't see them having a massive amount of screen time in Infinity Wars.
The thing is, again, there's going to be that many characters in that film that something's got to give, hasn't it?
And for me, if it was my choice, I would probably let...
Hawkeye not be in it.
Yeah, I'd let Hawkeye slip. I'd let the Wasp slip.
No way are they going to let the Wasp slip. Why they're not going to bring her into it as a new character and then just suddenly see you later.
Yeah, I can agree. I can relate to that.
I think the Wasp and Ant-Man are two people that are nailed on to be in Infinity Wars. Mm-hmm. Plus, obviously, with the ability for them to sort of cross through time, the time continuum-y type thing, and all the stuff they can do. Obviously, I think they're going to bring back the original Wasp as well.
Okay.
Hank Pym's wife. I think in that film, I think that'll be about them bringing her back. I think that's what that film will be about.
Because she went mega small, didn't she? Into the what was the thing called? The zone, some sort of zone.
The danger zone.
You said you weren't going to think.
Unlucky.
That's
you owe us 100 fake Monopoly monies.
That's a good shout though about the storyline. I think that's a very interesting point.
I've read the script already.
Have you? Did you write it?
No, they want me to be in it.
Oh, damn it. So, do you think that with Infinity Wars, there's obviously, like you say, so many characters. Do you think they'll centre it around sort of the core Avengers? What was the film where Thor had that vision? Was that the original Avengers? Can you remember? He went to the pool of dreams or something, and he came back and he's like, I've had a vision. That was in Ultron.
That was Ultron.
Do you think that Infinity War is going to focus more on them and then everyone else is going to have like sort of cameo appearances or get involved in a big fight at some point? How do you think they're ever going to work it around all these characters?
Make it a 4-hour film.
They kind of have, don't they, with doing 2 films?
That's true.
They've kind of, with them having part 1 and part 2, I suppose, in essence, it's a 5-hour film. Really?
Yeah.
Look at it that way.
I suppose it is, yeah.
Yeah, good point. I know, thanks. Cheers.
So you think they'll make it like Game of Thrones and just have like 300 stories going on at once?
10 minutes with each character and then a massive
in 5
battle at the
hours,
end.
each character could have plenty of screen time to make everyone happy, I reckon.
5 hours divided by 67 characters equals...
7.
No idea.
Not very long. It's approximately 4.5 minutes each.
Yeah. Do you know I can't wait to see in Infinity Wars?
Tell us, Ben. Tell us.
Because he's been confirmed for both parts.
Oh, no, I know the answer now you said that.
Rocket Raccoon.
Oh, that was...
accidentally confirmed, wasn't it?
That was... somebody let it slip, didn't they?
Yeah, just like casually whilst at a bar ordering a drink. Oh, by the way, Rocket Raccoon's in one.
Yeah, so obviously we've got the Guardians film that's coming up as well, haven't we? Guardians 2, which we touched on.
Great link that was, by the way.
And it was leaked this week that Rocket Raccoon is actually going to be in both parts. So, Ben, you're looking forward to seeing him. Obviously, he's one of your favourite characters, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of my favourites, definitely. I think him and the Guardians in that film, they need to play a big part for me because they're pretty sick.
Yeah, well, obviously they had quite a lot to do with one of the Infinity Stones, didn't they, in the last film?
Yes, they did indeed.
So it kind of makes sense because at the moment, they're the only space-based characters, and a lot of the Infinity Gems are kind of based in space.
They've got previous Infinity Stone experience.
They do, exactly.
So they need to be there, don't they?
So if you could pick two characters to make a film together, like Ant-Man and Wasp, which two characters would you pick and why?
I've got this.
Okay, go on.
I would pick Natasha Romanoff,
Yep.
aka the Black Widow,
Yep.
and Danny Rand, Iron Fist.
Okay, that's a random.
Yeah, but
combo.
I just think like looks-wise, in terms of when they're all kitted up and fighting style-wise, I think they're very much like the old Double Dragon game. They're very much like fighters.
So you just want a Double Dragon movie made in Marvel Universe?
They'd just be awesome together. But yeah, no, I think them two together, I just think like they're very, very similar.
Yep.
But again, it's sounding weird, but they're very different at the same time. And
Yep.
obviously then that would give you a chance to sort of see the Black Widow's sort of leadership a little bit more, and then we'd be able to see Danny Rand on the big screen.
Yeah, true.
It'll never happen, obviously, but that's just that's the one I would like to see.
What about you, Ben?
I'm going to say it's not a likely matchup.
Okay. That's, contrast is good.
Daredevil
Yeah, nice.
and Spider-Man.
Oh, that would be cool because they're both like so agile and doing backflips in that.
That's what I'm thinking. They got a lot of agile fighting stance going on, and
Chuck a bit of webbing in
they
there.
both got sixth sense.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Yeah.
Well, technically it's fifth for Matt Murdock.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he hasn't got sight.
Hey, don't tell anyone. They might not have seen Daredevil.
Spoilers.
Yeah, no. I'm obviously I'm watching Daredevil at the moment. I'm really enjoying
I'm
it.
glad you've got the bug now.
I'm looking forward to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like I say, I just put them together, mash it up, see what
That'd
happens.
be a cracking little link, that would. I like that. It's a good choice. Jake, what about you?
I don't really know where I'd go with the two characters, and I can't remember what are their names. The girl with the powers to control things,
Scarlet Witch?
Scarlet Witch,
Okay.
and Vision. They're kind of already a group,
Ah, okay.
and I don't quite know what they do in their own film.
They could just have a cooking show.
I just feel like Vision hasn't been.
Husband and wife. They could get married. It could be their like, reality
Yeah.
TV show.
Yeah, true.
They could get married and it could be like a reality TV.
I don't
Kardashians.
think Vision has had enough screen time either. I think he's been.
I think he will have a big part to play in Infinity War.
I think
left in the dark. He's got one of the stones in his head.
Exactly, yeah.
And
you can't not have
people
to.
just kind of push it to one side. Like,
Yeah, but are they
Vision.
almost keeping that to one side deliberately though as well?
That's
so
what I
you
mean,
don't
that's what I
overkill
think.
him.
Vision and Scarlet Witch in a standalone film would be awesome.
It'd be a power
Yeah,
couple.
that would be a great film, to be
Rom-com.
Power
he goes
couple.
over power crazy.
Power
she
couple.
can control him.
So for my choice,
Who would you choose, Tom?
you'd be...
Doctor Strange and the Unicorn.
Yep, that's it. Nailed it. You'll be shocked to hear that the first one's Captain Marvel.
Marvel.
Anyone? No?
Really?
And Star-Lord, because then you could just have Marvel Star-Lords, couldn't you?
Star-Lord.
Think of the babies.
I know they're not having kids.
Oh, right, okay.
Don't you match up my woman with somebody else.
You're definitely on a space-themed episode there, though, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Then
Whereas
you could
I'm in New York City with mine. You're in space.
I'm in Kunlun.
You're in Kunlun.
And wherever they are.
You're in...
Jake's not
You're in the
bothered.
kitchen.
He'll go wherever. He'll go wherever it takes, wherever the love takes him.
He's in the chapel getting married. Yeah, I just think it would be cool because obviously you could have a very space-based film like Guardians, and it would have like some decent humour in it because they both have a good sense of humour, and we could see some more of Captain Marvel. So,
Sounds good.
yeah.
Do you like Captain Marvel?
I've not really thought about it, mate. To be honest.
Oh.
Let's move on to character of the week. Character of the week. So this week was Nath's choice, and his choice was the Wrecker. So in his absence, I have actually I've put his origin together for Nath. So I will read them first, and if you guys then want to add your facts on, yeah. So his real name is Dirk Garthwaite. That is the best name ever, by the way. They don't make names like that anymore, do they? And his first appearance was in Thor issue 148 in 1968. He had an abusive father who would beat him and his mother as a child, so that's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
He worked for a demolition company before being sacked for antisocial behaviour, and
what was his role at the demolition company? Just out of curiosity.
he was a demolisher.
Oh, okay.
Not a wrecker. That came afterwards. But after he got sacked, he then turned to a life of crime because, he's got to make money somehow, hasn't he? He gradually got more daring in his criminal activity and fashioned himself a simple costume to hide his identity, and his trademark weapon was a crowbar, which he wrecked the scene of his crime with, hence the name The Wrecker. When robbing a hotel room, he stumbled upon Loki, who had lost his powers at this time, and he tormented Loki and put on his horned helmet. However, it turned out that Loki was in the middle of summoning his ally Carnilla to give him magical powers, and when she arrived, she mistook Dirk for Loki and gave him the power instead.
Dope.
Yeah, so with this new superpower, the Wrecker went on an unstoppable wrecking spree, which not even Thor could stop, which is kind of crazy.
That's pretty bold, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But he was eventually taken down by the Destroyer, which was an Asgardian automaton animated by the spirit of Lady Sif. So yeah, that's a little about the origins of the Wrecker. If you guys want to add your facts on.
Yeah, okay, I'll go first then. As it sort of follows on from that, in fact, to be fair. So basically, once he was taken down by the automaton,
Yep.
He was taken to prison. Whilst in prison, he kept tabs on the location of the crowbar. Obviously, it was very important to him, and he wanted to know where it was because eventually he wanted to get the crowbar back.
So weird because I've never heard of the Wrecker.
I haven't even before this.
It's a crowbar.
But yeah, so with his fellow convicts, which was Dr. Elliot Franklin, Brian Malusky, and Henry Camp, he managed to break out of jail and retrieve the crowbar.
Okay.
He correctly assumed the crowbar housed the powers that had been drained from him, so the Wrecker had his three friends grasp the bar with him in an electrical storm. The storm then transferred the powers from the crowbar back between the four of them.
Wow, that's ingenious.
Yeah, so Franklin became the Thunderball, Kaluskin became Pile Driver, and Camp became Bulldozer, which was, again, most of you probably heard about the Wrecking Crew. They're the four guys that formed the comic book group called the Wrecking Crew.
Did Thunderball go on to release a National Lottery game, or...?
No, he didn't. No.
No, okay.
No. So yeah, that's mine. The Wrecking Crew. Yeah.
That's cool. Nice. Who wants to go next?
Well, like Jake, because I think Jake's follows on quite nicely.
Mine was following on from Steve's, yeah. Kind of, anyway. The Wrecker and the Wrecking Crew joined Baron Zemo's Masters of Evil and helped them take over the Avengers mansion.
Cool.
I'd love a Masters of Evil film.
I love that they're called the Wrecking Crew. They sound like a 90s rap group.
And
Okay, Ben.
following on from that, then I just thought I'd give you a rundown of his sort of powers and stuff. So he's got superhuman strength, and a little bit on what Steve said. When he's in the Wrecking Crew, he sort of shares his power between them. So he's got superhuman strength, but when the crew's formed, he only sort of has like a quarter of his power.
Okay,
which is
right.
quite interesting.
Yeah,
so
nice.
they sort of share it between them.
So he's not always the superior one.
Yeah. Then he's got superhuman stamina, superhuman durability, and then, which I thought again was quite interesting, he's got a mystical link with his crowbar. So a little bit like Thor has with the hammer.
No way. Does that mean he can like call his crowbar over like Thor does with his hammer?
Yep.
That's genius.
So there he is.
I wonder where Nath got this from, because I've literally never heard of the Wrecker before.
Same here.
Jake's face tells me he can't believe him, and he's going to go home and he's going to read all the comics he can find about this guy.
Can the Wrecker's crowbar be picked up by anyone else?
Probably.
Only people that are qualified to use said tool
Thor's
and wearing
hammer.
the
If
correct
it has
PPE.
the same power-ish of Thor's hammer, obviously nobody else can pick up Thor's
I think
hammer.
it depends if they've hired him as a consultant or not.
Oh, I'm trying to be serious.
Me too.
It's a serious podcast, Jake, so you come to the right place.
So,
I don't know.
It's a very good question, Jake.
It's a very good question.
thank you.
I'll write it down and come back to you.
Take it away.
I'll take it away.
Get this. By concentrating on the crowbar, the Wrecker can use it to take mental possession of whoever touches it.
What?
This crowbar is suddenly becoming quite interesting.
Yeah.
You're going to get a crowbar for Christmas.
You'd be pretty good though, wouldn't you? Like, of all the weapons that you could have picked up that day, you ended up just grabbing a crowbar.
Yeah, but he was a thief, wasn't he? Think about it. He's following on from it. He used to rob people's houses. He had a crowbar and he used to smash them up
he's
afterwards.
Trying to break into someone's back door. He's not going to use a mystical hammer, is he?
He's not going to think, do you know what? Just in case one day I bump into a superhero
Loki in a hotel
and I
room.
get the opportunity to
what's
have
that
powers,
about? Oh, I fancy seeing you here, Loki.
I'm going to decide to rob houses with a big samurai sword.
Why not? I would, just in case. You never know, do you?
When he's climbing through windows, it'd get stuck on his back. He'd be like, I'm stuck.
Plus, I need to read this comic because I think it'd be hilarious seeing him torment Loki without powers and just like grabbing his helmet and putting it on. Then suddenly his mate turns up, he's like, here's your magical powers. Oh.
Loki's got like a really sophisticated staff and he's just stood there with a crowbar.
Round 1, fight.
Loki just can't do anything whatsoever either, so that's pretty damn funny. So that was a great choice, Nathan. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Nath.
So, Steve, it's your choice next week, and who do you choose? Drum roll, please.
We can't do drum rolls. We're not very good at them.
See, Jake's got it on lock.
That was all right. Jake can come back again.
Ben sounded like a machine gun.
Okay, I'll just... I'm going to pick Nova.
Nova.
Yep.
Nice.
Nova.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about it now. I always do this. I'm starting trying to give random facts about him before the episode.
Save it.
Let's move on to the news. So, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
You're the news guy. Come on.
I'm the only one that bothers putting any news on this
I
thing.
put some on at the end.
Oh, yeah, you did as well.
Yeah.
Well done. Good work.
Carry on.
So basically this week, Agent Carter was officially canned by ABC,
Boo.
as most people thought it was going to be. Though there is a massive internet sweep and a petition going around to try and get Netflix to pick that up as a
Yeah, I've
series.
seen that. Somebody posted that on Twitter.
Sign it, get on it, sign it.
I have signed it already.
I've signed it too. And if you're listening to this and you have Twitter, get on it and sign it. And you too, sign it.
Sign it.
Maybe we don't want it. Maybe we don't want to see it.
Well, you should.
Well, you're going to have to, all right?
But also, again, another year's gone by when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Most Wanted hasn't been picked up by the network either. They've passed on it again, like they did last year. So whether or not they're going to take that into another third sort of rework cycle.
I wonder why they set it up then. Like, in S.H.I.E.L.D., spoilers.
I think they were pretty much confident that it was going to get picked up.
Yeah.
Because they'd basically been told last year to go back and work on it and rewrite it and bring it back again. And they've brought it back again thinking that they've got it sorted. And then they've passed on it again.
That's pretty upsetting.
Yeah, well, the thing is now that obviously leaves Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has been picked up for a fourth season.
Yeah.
That's now the only show on the networks that Marvel have got until Damage Control starts next year.
What's Damage Control?
Oh, mate, it's a comedy. It's coming out.
Really?
Yeah. It's about the... it's from the Damage Control comics.
I've never read the Damage
You
Control
should.
comics.
They're basically, it's a group of people that go around cleaning up after the hero fights.
Oh, really?
So they go to they go to New York after it's all kicked off and everything, and they're basically the guys in charge of cleaning up after it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a comedy, and that's going. I think that starts next year.
I need to read.
Sounds like something you'd make up. That
It's
does.
it's good. It's pretty funny.
There's digestion in it.
They are pretty funny comics, to be fair. Digestion, by the way, best superhero you've ever heard of.
Oh.
Anyway, more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. news is, unfortunately, it's been put back. The TV, obviously, not so much over in the UK, but in America, there's certain TV slots that are very sort of renowned for being good slots and bad slots and things like that. The Tuesday night 10 p.m. slot apparently is a cursed sort of slot, which sort of signifies shows coming towards the end.
Yep.
And that's the slot that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been given next year.
Okay.
So, again, that potentially means it could be the last season. I don't know. That's just, again, rumours, but it just looks like they're going that way with it. So that's the bit of TV news for you. Surprise, surprise, Michael B. Jordan, who was the Human Torch in the very, very, very good remake of Fantastic Four, and he also played Creed, has been added to the cast of the Black Panther movie. I say surprise because this would be like the third time that he's worked with director Ryan Coogler. They worked together on Creed and Fruitvale Station. I don't know if you saw that. Very good film.
Never heard of it. Either of them,
Very, very good film. So again, they've worked together a lot of time. And there's rumours that Michael B. Jordan's going to play one of the villains in the Black Panther movie.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. And then obviously today's Wednesday when we're recording this show. X-Men Apocalypse is out today in the UK. So yeah,
So when are we going to watch it?
We're hopefully going to go and watch it sometime this weekend. And then
I'm going on Sunday.
We're looking to then do the X-Men show next week. A bit of a spoiler
We'll do a
cast
spoiler
again.
cast, yeah, like we did with Civil War. That'd be cool.
Again, it's had a bit of poor press. Not some very good reviews.
I'm going to make up my own mind
But
about it.
again, let's
That's
go and
my
let's hope it's going to be decent.
Yeah. It's X-Men and it's got Sophie Turner in it. I can't really go wrong.
It's a
for me.
win-win
If
situation.
they put Captain Marvel in there, it might be better, but...
But yeah, the next piece of news, Tom, I believe that you've added.
Yes, I did. This is just a random thing that I read about Iron Man 3 today. It's come out, according to Shane Black. This was on the Guardian website.
Shane Black was the director, wasn't he?
He was, yes, sorry. Originally, the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 was supposed to be female, but he was forced to change the script after it was all written and everything by the Marvel production company who make the toys, because they said that the female version of the toy wouldn't sell very well. So he had to change the whole script and everything to make the Mandarin male. I just thought that was a bit of another controversial sort of choice there. What do you guys think about this?
I think it was a bad choice. I don't think there's enough females in the Marvel universe,
yeah,
personally.
I agree with that.
It's very male-dominated.
One thing, see again, for me, the Mandarin and the performance of Ben Ainsley, he was fantastic in that position. Fantastic. And for me, he's one of my favourite villains so far in all of the films I've seen.
Yeah.
He's the one that sticks out for me, and it's his voice more than anything, but not even his background or not even the depth of the character, just purely his voice and his performance.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit biased towards this story that you've just said, because I thought Ben Ainsley as a Mandarin was fantastic. However, like Jake says, I agree with what you're saying about there needs to be more sort of female involvement.
Yeah, which I think the Marvel is starting to work towards that now.
I think they are. I think they're probably going to be a bit nervous to do it because it's quite a revolutionary thing, as strange as that is in the world we live in today.
Yeah.
But a villain as being female, I suppose that's the next big step, isn't it?
Yeah. Which
again, let's do it. Let's get it out there. Let's make it happen.
Yes. Speaking of villains, are we going to do our homemade villains next week, or should we save it for after the spoiler cast?
Well, it depends how much we've got to talk about on the film, I suppose, depending on how much we like it. But
I think we should maybe leave that
for the week after.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the week after, we're thinking of doing the Twitter show, because that'll be our 10th episode.
Oh well, that'll still fit into that episode, I think.
Let's do it on episode 10 to celebrate our 10th week.
We will do our own homemade villains.
Yeah, so you all get to meet Digestion's arch nemesis.
Oh, you're going to directly link him, are you?
I said that.
Is that what you're going to do? You know, are we making a villain? Is it a villain who's literally against your hero?
Just make a villain.
Or just a villain?
Yeah.
I've done mine. Mine's ready. You can have mine right now if you want.
Stop giving it away, Jake. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. You can find us on Twitter. We are at Marvel Matters. You can find us on Facebook. We are just /Marvel Matters. And on YouTube, we are the same, just /Marvel Matters. We have been the Marvel Matters podcast, featuring the spectacular Steve.
Flame on.
The benevolent Ben.
Ben Smash.
The jubilant Jake.
Bye.
Boo.
And I have been your host, the tremendous Tom. We'll catch you next week. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you, bye.